Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to News in Motion. Today is Thursday, July 13th, 2023. Um, Here on News in Motion, our Thursdays are our Friday Eve. So today's show is going to be more relaxed, a little bit more on the fun side, but we are still going to have some headline news. Whether you are tuning in through YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or if you are an audio podcast listener, we just want to say thank you for turning their dials to Hot 97 News in Motion today. Of course, we will be hearing our national days later on in the show, but how is everybody's week doing? Um, we're almost to the end of the week. How is everybody's Thursday? How is everybody doing today? If you're watching the replay, whether it's in the afternoon, the evening, or near the nighttime, thank you for watching News in Motion and supporting the young people during their takeover month. Good morning to you, Miss Kim Emerson, tuning in through YouTube, and good morning to you, Mr. Robert Holman, tuning in through Facebook. So, if you're ready to hear from the young people, let's get ready for some news in motion.
News in motion.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Young People Takeover here on News in Motion. I am Isaiah Jones, one half of the dynamic duo here on News in Motion. Also, want to give a quick shout out to the other half of the dynamic duo, Miss Lexi Williams, who killed it last night at her open mic night with not only one but two poems. So we have to give our congratulations, our shout outs, our flowers to Miss Lexi Williams. She won't be joining us this morning as she's recovering her voice, and actually she's on tour right now after such a wonderful performance last night. So today, y'all will be hearing the news from yours truly. So let's get right into it. First headline news for today is being reported by CBS, and it's talking about extreme heat exceeding 110 degrees, and that's expected to hit the southwestern part of the USA. So extreme heat exceeding 110 degrees. That's just triple digits. That's hotter than some places in Nevada and Texas. 110 degrees. Yeah, don't even bother going outside. Just crank on the AC. Get a few ice cubes to pop in your mouth. To help cool you down. But 110 degrees, yeah, you might as well just stay inside. 110 degrees is expected to hit the southern western part of the United States this week, placing almost 90 million people under a severe weather warning, according to the National Weather Service. The entire region of the country, including parts of Arizona, California, and Nevada, I just mentioned one of those states, is bracing for this dangerous heat wave as extreme heat rises across states. Local governments are searching for strategies on how to keep residents safe. Robert Holman also says stay hydrated. Yes, drink plenty of water. Um, Drink plenty of water. A good substitute for water as well is Gatorade. That has a lot of electrolytes in it, and it also helps keep you hydrated as well. Um, Kim Emerson, Miss Yvonne Gardner, and Miss Marion Jackson are all congratulating Lexi. Again, we just want to say congratulations to Lexi for her amazing performance yesterday at the open mic night with not one but two poems, and also for her snippet poem that she performed yesterday during Well Spoken Wednesday. But before we move on to our next headline news, here's a quick joke of the day. So I knew this teacher. Her name was Miss Day. I asked her if she had a son. I guess you could say it was Sunday. No, Okay, I'll stay with me on this one though. Stay with me. Miss Day likes to fry fish on Fridays because the fish Fridays. So somebody's gonna catch that later on in the day. Somebody's gonna catch it later on in the day. But moving on to our national days, and speaking of the joke of the day, I'm gonna do my best, Lexi, y'all. But for your national days today on July 13th, today is National Beef Tallow Day. I have never heard of that before. Embrace Your Geekness Day. Shout out to all the people who are considered geeks. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. National Fool's Paradise Day. National Gruntled Workers Day. International Rock Day. So if you're international, go ahead and pick you up a rock. The Chief Show said, "No, sir, you should stick with the news." It was a good joke. The Miss Day fries fish on Fridays. Fish fried Friday. Come on now. Somebody gonna think that's funny. Or Miss Day has a son named Sunday. All right. Moving on back to the national days. It is also National Barbershop Music Appreciation Day, National Beans and Franks Days, or some people call it beanies and weenies. Miss Adrian says, Isaiah, stick with your day job. Wow, tough crowd today. But I guess that means no more stand-up comedy for me. Miss Gail Daly said, I thought it was thank you, Auntie Gail. And Miss Kim Emerson says, I am a self-proclaimed geek. Listen, embrace your geekness today. Embrace it. Today is also National Delaware Day, National Paw Day. Shout out to all the paws out there. National Sam Day. Name Sam. If you got a dog named Sam, shout out to them. And National Celebrity Day of Montana. Oh Lord, this is stay with me, y'all. Stay. Bear with me now. Bear with me. National Serenity Day of Montenegro, a country in Balkan. So those are just some of the national days. I see why Lexi loves doing the national days as well. Ms. Gail Deli, you're no help. Listen, I thought it was a good joke. She thought it was a good joke. But listen, I'm going to just stick to my day job, y'all. I'm going to stick to my day job. And other news, I'm referring to the sports. Yesterday they had their award ceremony. I believe it's called the ESPYs. I believe that's what it's called. Um, but they had a dedicated performance by none other than Lil Wayne, who kind of did a remix of a Millie, and instead of doing the actual song, he referred to popular athletes such as LeBron James, DeMar Hamlin, um, and yesterday on the ESPYS. Grammys or something like that. Shout out to Isaiah who said I got it and took the show himself. Listen, they're not listen. The show must go on. As the old saying goes. The show must go on. Today, it is going to be and of course, uh, okay, Miss Marion Jackson. Can you hear me now, Miss Marion Jackson? We had a little bit of technical difficulties, so bear with me for 1 second. Are you guys able to hear me now? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me now. Miss Yvonne Garner said it was a great show. Yes, it was. Are you referring to the ESPYs or to yesterday's show, Miss Yvonne Garner? Please let me know about that. And also, what are some of y'all plans for the weekend? Um, Miss Gail said we can. Okay, good, good, good. We just had a little bit of technical difficulties there, so we apologize for that. But let's get this show on the road. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. And Miss Yvonne Garner was referring to the ESPY Awards show. It was an amazing show. I especially liked Little Wayne's performance. It was cool to hear him remix a song that apparently was a freestyle to begin with. I did not know that until earlier today. So apparently the song of Millie was a freestyle that he just remixed. But in other news, let's talk about the Powerball, y'all. So Powerball jackpot climbs to, wait till you hear this amount, 875 million dollars after no winners in Wednesday's drawing. The Powerball jackpot climbed to an estimated $875 million after there were no winners on Wednesday's night's 750 million drawing, which would have marked the sixth largest prize in the game's history. Wednesday's winning numbers were 23, 35, 45, 66, 67, and a Powerball of 20. The last time someone won the Powerball jackpot was back on April 19th when a ticket was purchased in Ohio, matching all six numbers to bring home a whopping 252.6 million prize. There has been 35 drawings since then without a jackpot winner. So listen, $875 million. Yeah, Mr. Treese Jones says, "Let me go get my numbers together." Listen, so get your numbers together. Get your cousin's number tell them to get their numbers. Tell everybody who that plays the lottery to get their numbers. Miss Gail Deli says who's playing the Powerball, and Miss Kim Emerson says $875 million with the shock emoji face. Um, Listen, Robert Owen said he's going for it. Listen, okay. Now listen. If you win, well, don't tell us what you're gonna do with your winnings, but treat yourself to a nice little vacation, or save some of that money, save it to the side, invest. Remember our conversation from yesterday's show on Well Spoken Wednesday. But what would you do with all that? What's one thing you would do with $875 million? That's with an M, y'all. At million, not with a B like billion, but a million. What would you do with $875 million? I know what I would do. I'm getting my family a house. So, Mama, I know you got. I'm gonna get us a house. Get us a nice little house. But in other news, let's just talk about. Let's have our throwback segment of the day. Miss Gail Dudley says she would bless someone. Mr. Treese Jones says if I'm win, I'm going to make an appointment with Kim Miller Emerson for financial advice. Okay, that's good. That's good. Miss Kim Emerson says leave this country. Listen, I know, I know it doesn't exist, but if Zamunda or Wakanda existed, listen, I'm taking the first flight there. Um, maybe Australia. I heard Australia is pretty good. And not in terms of weather, but it has good landscapes and stuff like that. And also the animals are cool too. Catch your kangaroos or koala bears. But the heat down there out here is just sometimes unbearable. Miss Deborah Johnson said I would be a major philanthropist. Okay. Okay. I'm prophesizing that for you, Miss Deborah Johnson. You will be a major philanthropist. Sooner rather than later. Just know that. Kim Emerson, Miss Gail Dudley, excuse me. Miss Gail Dudley said, Kim Miller Emerson is the bomb.com. Hire her for your financial education. Listen, y'all need to look at book an appointment with Miss Kim Emerson. She's gonna get you right. She's gonna tell you all the financial advice that you need to know. So do that, please. But we support each other here in News and Motion. So be sure to connect with that. Miss Kim Emerson, if you could put your contact info in the chat so that way people can reach you. Um, that would be greatly appreciated as well. We believe in uplifting those around here, um, and supporting our not only our viewers but our each other here at News in Motion. So, with that being said, we're not going to end the show just yet, but as the guest preacher said, I won't be before you long. I won't be before you long. So, with that being said, just wanted to take a moment of gratitude to thank Ms. Geldelli for this platform that you have given me and Lexi. Um, I've been working with News in Motion for about a year or two now, and it has been a blessing to hone my craft behind the scenes, to be a media director. So, Ms. Gardelli, I thank you for that. I thank you for all that you do for News in Motion as well. The early mornings, the late nights, the telling the news even when you're sick or something. That's dedication, and you take what you do very seriously. So we appreciate you, Ms. Gail Dudley. To the rest of the News and Motion team, to Miss Deborah Johnson, Mr. Kenny, to Lexi, to the audio engineers, to everybody behind the scenes. Thank you for all that you do. To our viewers, especially, thank you for just always tuning in and always showing your love and support and your engagement um, for News in Motion as well. And also telling your friends and family about News in Motion. We have seen a large growth in terms of viewership over the last few years and months. And it's all thanks to each and every single one of you. So thank you for all the support that you do here for News in Motion as well. Um, but let's talk about our Throwback Thursday segment before we head into our inspirational message. So what you know, I was gonna say set biases high, but that's kind of impossible to do. But in your opinion, what would you say was the best era, for music, for fashion, um, for just anything? So if I'm saying, the best era for music, for fashion, for movies, um, for TV shows, what would you say would be that era? I'm gonna let y'all put it in the chat. Okay, so we got Miss Gail Dudley saying the 80s. Okay. Mike Nicholson saying 80s to early 2000. Okay, that's a good era. He put all he put a couple years in between that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Fred Jones says 90s for music, and it's not even close. You ain't lying about that. You are not lying about that. Good morning to you, Miss Shirley Nicholson. She's saying Martha and the Valdellas, the Marvelettes, Gladys Knight, and Mary Wells. I believe those are from the. Ooh, I don't want to. I might be showing my youth, but I believe those are from the 80s. Gladys Knight. No, Gladys Knight sounds like '90s, early '90s, late '80s. I could be wrong about that. Robert Holman says the '70s. Miss Kim Emerson said '80s had the best movies. That's a good argument. I know a few people might disagree, but that's a good argument. I've seen a few movies that were from the '80s, and I thought they were pretty good. Miss Marion Jackson said the '80s. Miss Kim Emerson says '90s for the music. Mike Nicholson said the '60s through the '65 through the '70s. Mr. Trish Jones says I agree with Fred Jones on the music, on the '90s for the music. Um, '60s for fashion by Miss Kim Emerson. Good morning to you, Miss Sardinia. Miss Regina Short says '70s and '80s for music. Um, Patrice Jones said you're showing your age. Just let us chat. Hey, okay. I'm gonna let y'all chat. I'm gonna let y'all have y'all throwback discussion. Um, Miss Gail Dudley says '80s for movies and TV shows. Mike Nicholson says New Jack Swing was killing the game. Okay, okay. I know a little bit about the New Jack Swing. Oh, Gladys Knight was in the '70s. Oh, Oh, okay. Um, I mean, I was close. I was in the ballpark. I said 80, so I was just 10 years ahead. But it's fine. It's fine. Okay. Miss Shirley Nicholson's not Miss Shirley Nicholson says 1960 was a good year. Okay. And that's it. Now me personally, I have seen a few stuff from the 80s, and I do listen to some stuff from the 60s and the 70s, but it's just something about the 90s. um the 90s was, in my opinion, the best era for music, fashion, movies. The actors and actresses back then, like you had your Denzels, um Denzel, Wesley Snipes, Holly Berry, Nia Long. I know Ice Cube was doing pretty good in terms of acting as well. Um, you also had your Morris Chestnuts as well. So I'm gonna say that the '90s were like the best era. Even though I'm an early 2000 kid, but it's just something about the '90s that you know, always captivated me. And the music too, especially the West Coast music. That the West Coast music is unbeaten in terms of that. It had a unique sound. So I got to give my props to the '90s and anybody who was born in the '90s or was around during the '90s. Um, she continued into the '80s, referring to Gladys Knight by Miss Marion Jackson. Thank you for the reinsurance, Auntie. You know, I'm still, I'm educated, about back then, but you know, um, was Fred Jones says West Coast, yeah, the West Coast music. Listen, that's probably. I know I might get a few side eyes for this, but I believe that the West Coast from like back in the '90s, I believe that West Coast music was better than the East Coast. I'm just saying. I'm saying it was more, it had more versatility. That in a way, it had more versatility. Mike Nicholson said, "Boo West Coast." Wait, what? West Coast best music? God, you're getting all the side. And he also added, "You're getting all the side eyes as well." Um, and he also says overalls, cross colors, FUBUs, and I thought that said AirBods for a second, but it says Gearbods. I have never heard of Gearbods before. I've had heard of FUBUs before. I've had heard of FUBUs. Biggie would like a word, and Fred Jones said that. What? I'm just saying. For the West Coast, that's just my opinion. But maybe it's because I listen to a lot of Ice Cube and Snoop Dogg. Um, 80s also had some great country music. Don't judge me. No judgment. There's no judgment here. Listen, if you like your R&B. Some people like your country. Some people like your soul music. There's no judgment here at all. None judgment whatsoever. Um, Mike Nicholson said the Bronx would like a word. Lord have mercy. What have I done? I called some diversity in the chat. Lord have mercy. Lord forgive me. But that was just our throwback segment for today. Glad we could get some conversation going in terms of what y'all thought the best era in music was. Just not just for music, but for fashion, for movies. Um, if that was like a happy time in your life, if you were, if you have a favorite memory from that era, let us know in the chat as well. Um, but leading right into our inspirational message for today, and then we will be back here on Tuesday. We'll be back here on Tuesday. So the inspirational message for today, I really didn't have a title for it, but it is inner peace. That is the title of the inspirational message today. Um, Latrice Jones says, Gail Dudley, that means you're cultured. Um, Yvonne Gardner says before Denzel and Wesley era, it was Fran Sanford, Charmaine Helmsley, Isabel Stanford, and others. Okay, I remember Fran. Is Fred Sanford from Sanford and Son? Or oh Lord, I hope I didn't say that name wrong because I know my dad. Uh, I know my dad watches that show, so I hope I said that right. But I believe that show is Sanford and Son, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Mike Nicholson said, "I am judging Gail E. Dudley on the country. Speak for yourself. She out here listening to Taylor Swift, I bet." Um, Gail Dudley said, "Latrice Jones, I try. I love me some country music." Mike Nicholson saying, "Lemon heads were 10 cents." Okay, yeah. I remember Jawbreakers being like 25 cents, and it came like in a little box. I remember those at the corner store back when I was a kid. Shirley Nicholson saying, Hubby would say, Mimi Pearl era, he stone country gal." Okay. Um, Mike Miss Gail Dudley said Mike Nicholson, no Taylor Swift. Mr. Mongarner said yes, Sanford and Sons. Listen, I had to be sure because I know if I had gotten that wrong, I knew I was gonna be getting a call from my dad because I know that's one of his like favorite shows. So I knew I just had to be sure. I knew it was Sanford and something, but Sanford and Sons. Um, I'm glad I got that right. I'm glad I was able to get this right. Mike Nichols is saying, "Get this man, Nick at night." Nick at night. Nick at night. That sounds familiar, but I don't think that I might be confusing it with another Nick at Night. With like the who came on at Nick at Night? Was it George Lopez? I think it was. I'm and Miss Regina Short says 80s fashion, my younger sister would cut out all the shoulder pads on my clothes. Oh, okay. Now, were you aware that she was doing this, or was this something that she, did on the side? What was going on? Miss Kim Evans is saying this is hilarious. Listen, this is this is just me. It's just me. But going back to the inspirational message, I titled it "Inner Peace" because sometimes, especially with the world, with how the world is nowadays, um, you have to find peace in every situation, whether the situation be good or bad. There's peace at the end of everything. Um, so I'm looking for the scripture real quick. Um, let's see. Let's see here. So the scripture that I found comes from James 1, verse 3. Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Again, that came from James 1, verse 3, and it says, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. So to me that says, as long as you're faithful and you're willing to go through the test, go through the challenge, um, your perseverance will be rewarded. And your reward may be different from somebody else's. Somebody's reward might be a financial breakthrough. Your reward might be inner peace. Finally being able to breathe. Finally be able to sleep at night. Um, your reward might be someone new coming into your life, and sometimes when you meet someone, they're either a blessing or a lesson. Um, and sometimes that blessing can be a blessing in disguise, and you know they can be someone who can pour into you and bring you peace, or they can be a lesson and they can teach you, you know, they can teach you something that you never thought that you needed to learn. Um, I know that might not make sense right now, but later on in the week it's going to make sense. So, catch that. Um, and yes, Miss Gardelli, either a blessing or a lesson. Um, Especially nowadays. I know when me and Lexi were talking about the red flags, that was kind of like the young people's interpretation of talking about being a blessing or a lesson. Are you going to bring positivity when you're around someone? Are you going to, you know, impact someone and motivate them? A smile, a compliment can go a long way. That can actually save someone, and you not even know it, and vice versa. Or is that person that you're around, are they bringing life to you? Are they motivating you? Are they being a positive light to you? So everything is a give and take nowadays, but it's also a fair trade in a way. That's a whole word, a blessing or a lesson. And Miss Kim Emerson said that. Listen, somebody's gonna catch that by the weekend. Somebody gonna catch that, before Sunday morning. So I'm just saying, at one person catch that, to God be the glory. But with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed today's show. I was able to, you know, get through the show pretty much for the most part. Again, shout out to Lexi Williams for her amazing performance yesterday at the open mic. I'm being told that she's now touring across the entire United States, performing at open mics and giving slam poetry. So hopefully she'll be back with me next week. But again, shout out to Lexi for her performance yesterday. To Miss Gail Deli again, thank you for this platform. To everyone who tuned in, thank you for watching. For our audio and podcast listeners, thank you for listening in. We will be back for more Young People Takeover next week on Tuesday here at 7:25 a.m. So be sure to join and bring a friend with you. And y'all know what we say here: stay well and make some bold moves. We're out.